Ethan found his wife covered in someone else's blood at 2:13 in the morning. By sunrise, he had a motel photo, an empty surgery account, and one thought burning a hole through his chest. She didn't just betray me. She destroyed us. 3 days later, Lena was lying unconscious in a hospital bed when he leaned over her bruised face and whispered, "I know what you did that night." If stories like this get under your skin and stay there, subscribe, like the video, and tell me where you're watching from before we begin. Because this one doesn't let go. And neither will the truth when it finally shows up. Lena didn't move. A bandage covered her temple. There were tiny cuts near her mouth, like glass had kissed her and left teeth marks behind. Machines breathed and blinked around her. Ethan stood there with his hands shaking so hard he had to curl them into fists just to keep from falling apart. "You could have told me," he said, voice cracking anyway. "You could have told me before our daughter looked at me and asked if her mother was a liar." Nothing. Just the monitor, the sterile smell, the weight of words he could never take back. Then Maya stepped into the room, Lena's best friend, still wearing navy scrubs, her eyes red and mean. "Get away from her," she said. Ethan didn't turn. "Not until I hear it from her." Maya laughed, but there was no humor in it. "If she wakes up, the first thing she'll have to survive won't be the accident. It'll be you." That should have warned him. It didn't. 12 days earlier, Ethan still believed pain had rules. He believed if you worked hard enough, stayed loyal enough, bled quietly enough, life would at least hit you from the front. He was wrong. Their daughter, Rosie, had surgery scheduled in less than 3 weeks. 7 years old. Bird-bone wrists, big brown eyes, a heart that tired faster than the rest of her. The doctors called it repairable. The bills called it war. Ethan was working 14-hour shifts at the garage. Lena was teaching music at the elementary school, giving private piano lessons at night, and pretending she wasn't exhausted enough to cry over grocery receipts. They were surviving on caffeine, unopened mail, and those little moments parents steal from disaster. Rosie singing softly in the back seat. Lena pressing her forehead to Ethan's shoulder in the kitchen and whispering, "We're close. Don't quit on me now." He didn't quit. He just missed the moment the ground cracked under them. Marcus came back 6 weeks before the surgery. Ethan's older brother. Smile like a promise.
I saw the photo. How could
Soul
you? It's not what
like
you
a
think.
knife.
I was there.
He showed up
Please
at the
listen,
garage in
the
an
text.
expensive
Read the
jacket
timestamp.
he
It's edited.
definitely
Look.
hadn't
No,
paid
I
for,
understand now. I'm
and
so
clapped
sorry.
Ethan on the shoulder like the last 8 years hadn't happened. "Still fixing other people's messes?" Marcus grinned. Ethan wiped grease from his hands and stepped back. "Still causing them?" Marcus laughed harder than the joke deserved. Lena never trusted him, not even when she was trying to be polite. Especially not then. The first night Marcus came to dinner, Rosie was showing him the stuffed rabbit she wanted to bring to the hospital. Marcus crouched and said, "You're brave, kiddo." Lena answered before Rosie could. "She gets that from her dad." Marcus looked up at her and smiled too long. "Does she?" Something in Ethan tightened. Later that night, Lena stood at the sink rinsing plates and said, "Don't let him back in." Ethan was tired, defensive, embarrassed by how much that sentence stung. "He's my brother. He's trouble. He's family." Lena dried her hands, turned to face him, and lowered her voice. "Those aren't always the same thing." He should have listened. Instead, he heard judgment. Pride has a way of translating love into insult. A week later, the surgery account was short $9,000. The bank said there had been a transfer attempt, then a reversal. Ethan blamed fraud. Lena looked pale. That was the first secret she kept from him. He found out much later that she'd already started digging. Not because she suspected him, because she suspected Marcus. But that night, all Ethan knew was that Lena had been distracted for days, jumping at texts, taking calls in the hallway, smiling too quickly whenever he asked what was wrong. Then came the night that split everything open. Rosie collapsed in the kitchen just after 9. One second she was coloring a lopsided horse at the table. The next, the crayon dropped from her hand and her lips lost color so fast Ethan's blood went cold. Rosie? Lena was at a piano lesson across town. Or at least that's where she was supposed to be. Ethan called once, twice, 5 times. No answer. He scooped Rosie up, shouted for their neighbor to grab the overnight bag, and drove to the ER with one hand on the wheel and one hand reaching back, begging his little girl to stay awake. By the time they got there, his shirt was soaked with sweat. Rosie stabilized. Barely. A nurse explained oxygen levels, stress, observation. Ethan nodded at all of it and understood none of it. He just kept looking at the empty doorway, waiting for Lena to burst through it. At 11:47, his phone buzzed. Unknown number. He opened it. A photo. Lena. Marcus. Walking into the Harbor Inn. Timestamp. 10:52 p.m. For 3 whole seconds, Ethan forgot how to breathe. Then, another message came in. Check your surgery account. His hands went numb. He opened the banking app. Balance, almost 0. $48,000, gone. The world did not explode. That was the worst part. It just went silent. No dramatic music, no shattered glass, just silence, so complete he could hear the blood roaring in his own ears, while his daughters slept under hospital lights and his wife disappeared into a cheap motel with his brother and their child's future in a duffel bag. When Lena finally ran into the ER at 2:13, her hair was ruined by rain, one sleeve stained dark, lips split, breathing hard like she'd been running for miles. "Where's Rosie?" Ethan stood up so fast the chair crashed behind him. "You tell me," he said. Lena froze. "What?" He shoved the phone toward her. Her face changed. Not guilt, not exactly. Something worse. Fear. "Ethan." "No." His voice was sharp enough to make the nurse at the desk look up. "Don't say my name like I'm the one who needs explaining." She stared at the photo, at the account balance, at him. "I can fix this," she whispered. He laughed once. It sounded broken. "With what? Another hour at the Harbor Inn?" Her face crumpled, but she swallowed it down. "Please, not here." "Our daughter almost died." "I know." "While you were with my brother." Her eyes filled, and she looked past him through the glass at Rosie sleeping in that hospital bed, all wires and fragile little breaths. "I need 1 day," she said quietly. "1 day to do what?" "If I tell you now, you'll do something you can't undo." That sentence ruined her. If she'd screamed, denied it, hit him, maybe some part of him would have fought back toward her. But that sentence sounded like guilt wrapped in strategy. He stepped aside. Not toward her, away from her. "Don't touch her," he said. Lena stood there for 1 second too long, then folded in on herself. Not crying, not defending herself, just looking smaller than he had ever seen her. And still, she left. That was what haunted him. She left. The next morning, Marcus called first. "Man, I don't know what she told you," he said, voice syrup smooth. "But Lena came to me upset, said she needed help. I thought she was talking about money." Ethan said nothing. Marcus sighed. "I didn't want to tell you this, but she's been meeting someone for
I
weeks."
saw the photo. How could
The
you?
lie
It's not
was
what you
so
think.
confident
I
it
was
sounded
there.
rehearsed.
Look at the text.
Read the
timestamp.
And
It's
Ethan,
edited. Look.
bleeding
No, I
from a
understand that.
wound
I'm
he
so
hadn't
sorry.
even inspected yet, let it in. Lena came home that afternoon to pack a bag. Rosie was still at the hospital for observation, sleeping after tests. Ethan was in the kitchen, staring at a mug of coffee that had gone cold hours ago. Lena moved slowly through the hallway, gathering clothes, toothbrush, charger. She looked like she was packing after a funeral. When she reached the doorway, Ethan finally said, "How long?" She turned. "What?" "With him, with Marcus, with whoever else there was. Pick one." Lena closed her eyes. "That's what you think happened?" He almost laughed at the insult of the question. "You disappeared. Our daughter collapsed. $48,000 vanished. Someone sent me a photo of you at a motel with my brother. So yeah, Lena, that's what I think happened." She stepped toward him, trembling. "Marcus stole that money." Ethan stared. Then anger came in hard. "Do not use him to wash yourself clean." "It's true." "Then why were you there?" She opened her mouth, stopped. Her hands curled at her sides. "I can't tell you yet." He slammed his palm on the table so hard the mug tipped over. Coffee spilled between them like something dark and final. "Then get out." That landed. He saw it in the way her breath caught, saw it in the way she nodded once, like maybe she'd been punishing herself with the same sentence all night. At the door, she said, "Whatever you think I am, I still went there for you." He didn't answer. She left anyway. For the next few days, everyone became a witness to half a story. Marcus visited the hospital with balloons and coffee and concerns so polished it made Ethan sick. Nurses smiled at him. Rosie liked him. Ethan hated that. Lena came only when Ethan wasn't there, or tried to. Twice, he arrived just as she was leaving and watched Rosie burst into tears because both her parents were in the same hallway and somehow still couldn't stand close enough to speak. "Are you mad at Mommy?" Rosie asked one evening. Ethan knelt in front of her hospital bed and forced a smile. "No, baby." Rosie frowned. That was a lying face. She got that from Lena. 3 days later, the school held a fundraiser for Rosie's surgery anyway. Lena had organized most of it before everything exploded, and the principal insisted the event continue. The gym was packed. Paper hearts on the walls, homemade cookies, silent auction baskets, a stage with a little piano under a warm light. Lena stood near the back in a plain blue dress, thinner than she'd been 2 weeks ago, bruises hidden badly under makeup. People looked at her too long. Whispers move fast in small towns, faster when money disappears. Ethan should have stood beside her. He didn't. He stood near Marcus. That mistake would crawl under his skin for the rest of his life. When the principal thanked everyone for supporting little Rosie Cole and her brave family, Marcus raised his glass and said, loud enough for the room to hear, "Let's just hope every dollar gets where it's supposed to this time." The room froze. Someone dropped a fork. Lena went white. Ethan felt the whole gym shift toward her like wolves scenting blood. "Marcus," he muttered. But Marcus only lifted his hands. What? We're all thinking it. Lena's eyes found Ethan's. Not begging, not furious, just waiting. For him. For one sentence. For one act of faith. He said nothing. And that silence humiliated her more than Marcus ever could. She walked to the stage anyway, sat at the piano, and played the lullaby Rosie loved when she couldn't sleep before tests. Her hands shook on the first chord. By the second verse, the whole gym was crying. When she finished, nobody clapped right away. Maybe because beauty can feel obscene after cruelty. Outside, in the cold behind the school, Ethan found her leaning against the brick wall, breathing through tears like she refused to let them fall all the way. "I didn't steal from my daughter," she said without looking at him. He stayed quiet. That made her laugh bitterly. "You know what hurts the most? Not Marcus, not the town. You." She turned then, eyes bright and furious. "If you hate me, fine, but don't hand our daughter your anger and call it truth." Before he could answer, she walked past him. And for the first time since they met, Ethan didn't know whether he was losing his wife or burying her. The next morning, the surgery account was full again. Every cent. No sender name, no note. Just restored. Ethan stared at the screen until the numbers blurred. If Lena stole it, why return it? If Marcus stole it, why give it back? If neither of them did, then what exactly had he been living inside? He drove straight to Marcus's apartment. Marcus opened the door shirtless, irritated, then smiled when he saw Ethan's face. "Well, that looks promising." The money came back.
"I saw the photo.
Marcus leaned on the doorframe.
It's not what you think. I was there."
Please
Maybe
listen to her.
guilt got
Text.
expensive.
Read the timestamp. It's edited. Look.
Ethan
No, I
shoved him
understand now.
hard.
I'm so sorry.
"What did you do?" Marcus barely stumbled. "Careful. I swear to God." "What? You'll hit me? In front of witnesses? With your kid's surgery coming up and a wife already sneaking around?" Marcus's smile vanished. "You don't get to act righteous with me. Not after all those years Mom only looked at you like you mattered." That landed in a place older than anger. Ethan's fists clenched. Marcus stepped closer, voice dropping. "You really think women like Lena stay loyal when life gets ugly?" She was drowning. I offered her a way out. Ethan hit him. One punch. Clean. Marcus fell into the door, blood on his lip, eyes burning with something ugly and thrilled. "There he is," Marcus spat. "That's the man she was trying so hard to protect." Ethan froze. "Protect?" he repeated. But Marcus only laughed through the blood and shut the door in his face. That afternoon, Lena called Maya at 4:08. Maya would later replay the voicemail so many times, Ethan nearly broke from hearing it. "Maya, he knows something's wrong. I'm going to the courthouse. If anything happens, locker 12. Blue key in my coat pocket. Don't tell Ethan until after Rosie's surgery. Promise me." Then tires. A horn. A scream. The line went dead. A black SUV hit Lena in the crosswalk 2 blocks from the courthouse and kept going. By the time Ethan got to the hospital, Maya was outside the trauma room with blood on her scrubs and murder in her eyes. "You did this," she said. He recoiled. "I wasn't even there." "No." She stepped closer. "You were worse. You were absent when she needed one person to believe her." He looked through the little glass window at Lena, broken and still. "What was in locker 12? He asked.
Maya's face hardened. Now you want answers? I need the truth. She almost slapped him. Instead, she reached into her bag and threw a small silver key against his chest. Then choke on it. Locker 12 was at the community center where Lena taught evening lessons. Inside was an envelope, a flash drive, and a cashier's check made out to Rosie's hospital for $48,000. The check had Marcus's forged signature. The flash drive had audio files. Ethan sat alone in his truck and hit play. Static. Shuffling. Then Marcus. You came alone. Smart. Lena's voice came next, shaky but steady underneath. Give me the money back. A laugh. Look at you. Little teacher playing detective. That money is for Rosie. That money is mine. You stole it from Ethan's business account using his credentials. So what? He'll survive. She might not. Silence. Then the sound of something glassy clinking. A motel room. Marcus again. Lower now. You should have let him lose. Men like Ethan only learn when you break the one thing they think will never leave. Lena inhaled sharply. You hate him that much? I hate that he got loved. I hate that Mom died still calling his name. I hate that every time I walked into a room, people looked for your husband instead. There was movement. Fast. Lena's voice tightened. Don't come closer.
You know what your problem is? You'd burn yourself alive to save him. I'm not here for Ethan. Liar. Then a slap. Hard. Ethan's stomach turned inside out. Lena gasped, but when she spoke again, her voice was steel. Sign the check. Marcus cursed. There was a crash, a grunt, breathing. Then Lena, crying now but refusing to break, saying the sentence Ethan would hear in his sleep for years. I am begging you. That is my little girl's heart on the line. Marcus said, then earn it. Ethan shut the audio off so violently the truck horn blared under his hand. He bent over the steering wheel and made a sound he had never made before in his life. Not anger, not grief, something uglier. The sound a man makes when he realizes the person he loved was bleeding for him while he was holding the knife. Maya found him an hour later outside Lena's room. He looked like he'd aged 10 years. She told me not to say anything, Maya said coldly, because she knew you, knew you'd go after Marcus, knew you'd end up in jail or dead, and Rosie would lose both her parents. Ethan wiped his face with a shaking hand. Why keep it from me after? Because every time she tried to speak, you sentenced her first. He swallowed hard enough to hurt. Maya's expression finally cracked. Do you know what she said before they put her under? Not save me, not even your name. She said, did Rosie get the money? That broke him. Not loudly. That would have been easier.
I saw the photo. How
He just
could you?
folded
It's not
into
what
the
you think. I
hospital
was
chair
there.
outside her
Please listen to her. Look
room
at the text.
and
Read the
covered his
timestamp. It's
face
edited.
like
Look.
a child.
No, I understand now.
I'm so sorry.
For the first time, he let himself remember everything he had ignored. The split lip, the blood on her sleeve, the way she kept asking for one day, the way she stood alone in that school gym while he handed her over to shame because believing Marcus was simpler than trusting a wounded woman who couldn't defend herself without risking everyone she loved. At 2:19 that morning, Rosie disappeared from her hospital room. Ethan looked up from the chair and saw the bed empty, the rabbit gone, the blanket tossed aside. For one dead second, the world repeated itself. Then a nurse shouted, "She was with her uncle!" Marcus. Ethan's phone buzzed immediately. One text. Pier 9. Bring the drive alone, or your daughter goes in the water first. Maya grabbed his arm. "We call the police. He'll see them. He might kill her anyway." Ethan's face went hollow. "Then I make sure he sees me first." Rain hit the windshield in violent sheets on the drive to the marina. Pier 9 was half-rotted wood, old chains, black water slamming the posts hard enough to sound like bones knocking together. Marcus stood near the edge, under a dead floodlight, one hand gripping Rosie's shoulder. She looked so small, so terrified. Her stuffed rabbit dangled from Marcus's other hand by one ear. "Daddy!" she cried. Ethan stopped 3 yards away. "Let her go." Marcus smiled, rain sliding down his bruised face. "You finally listened to an audio file, and now you think you know everything." Ethan held up the drive. "It's over." "No," Marcus said. "It was over the day Mom chose you.